Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And I got an email from Johan, which is worth putting on the record. It's a very interesting insight. And Johan says, acceptance of God as the Father. The children of God are all created equal. They have different ethnicities and are all within these different ethnic groups having different talents. You will inevitably find that some choose to make use of it and others don't. It's what makes humans different. They have the freedom of choice. The driving force of humans is to be better than yesterday or yesterday's generation. To better achieve is a challenge for every individual. How are everyone measured? By the record and history of their achievements. If you have better records than anybody else, you feel superior, which is a human view, instead of showing gratitude towards God for the blessings you received. The challenge is to better your own achievements and find comfort in the fact that you've improved by the grace of God. God created all men equal and with 24 hours per day. Some do something with it, others don't. When you don't apply your talents, you come crying and be envious of the ones that did. History shows us what happened in the last 20 and more years. Slavery was a reality in the history of the world. The Israelites came out of slavery and became one of the stronger nations in the world. They don't blame the Egyptians today for keeping them as slaves and call them racists. They accept history and moved on. Financially, they are arguably one of the strongest peoples in the world today. Africa happens to be the last continent where slaves originated from. During those times, the kings of the African nations still sacrificed their people in barbaric rituals. It might even be possible that some of the people of Africa wouldn't have seen an old age if they hadn't become a slave in another place. Slave trading surely benefited someone in Africa. Who received the first benefits in the long chain of slave trading? Who rounded up the men and women to become slaves? Was it perhaps a black warlord in Africa? Slavery is unfortunately something that happened in history, but you cannot use the misfortune of your forefathers to benefit from today. That just isn't right. When the Europeans settled in the Cape in 1652, the most southern tip of Africa, the tallest constructions then were built by termites. The wheel wasn't even known there yet, not to talk of roads and bridges. Africa is known for its abundant natural resources. It wasn't unlocked until a white man picked up a diamond and made it known. The indigenous people had no use for it, and they never developed parts past a leisurely, relaxed sunrise to sunset. There were no need for diamonds or gold, and neither were there a drive to change it. They did have tribal wars and terrible massacres from other ethnic groups moving south from the north of Africa to challenge their ways, but they just moved away to avoid it when needed. The stronger tribe always ruled. The rule of Africa. It is a historic fact that the Europeans evolved way past most other nations in the world and is most definitely the envy of the rest of the world. What made them stronger was a relentless competition and challenge to be better than their neighbor. They were constantly at war with each other to prove who is better. It became part of their DNA. You have to improve every day. This competition between nations were the reasons for a natural evolvement that makes Europeans the leaders in the world, and everybody with a brain older than 12 years knows it. After the wars, the Europeans, to move away from the barbaric ways of war, even created games to challenge each other, to prove their superior capabilities and achievements. The Olympics is testimony of that, surely. Golf is one game where you don't even need an opponent to improve your ability to become better. Again, it is in their DNA to compete. Today, China is trying its utmost, legally and most certainly by use of illicit means, to get the IP or intellectual property and research data and information of the West, especially that of the United States of America. They have spent billions of dollars in bribing and corrupting researchers from the West to get to the edge. Why? It is because they have all the nicest toys. If it sounds childish to you, it is exactly that. It is then fair to say that the white Europeans have at least a 500-year edge on the black Africans. Therefore, also no surprise that you have this uprising all over the world from the Africans and their racist claims. They were left behind and were not picked up and carried along and spoon-fed and taught the way of self-upliftment. They were not shown how to challenge themselves to be better than yesterday. Whites are blamed all the time, like the Minister of Finance of Zimbabwe, blaming the previous establishment for not teaching them the workings of managing state finances. Why is it that today's whites think that they must and can ask forgiveness for the way people were treated in the past? Those people are already judged by God. Nobody but God and the person that was mistreated can forgive the one who is guilty. It is outrageous that some whites are ashamed of the blessings they have received from God. Instead of being grateful, they kneel and ask forgiveness from a human who may not even be a child of God. You cannot disrespect the godly blessings to your forefathers by demeaning yourself. God blessed the efforts and sacrifices, and they rose faster and higher than the rest of the world. The rest fell behind because to move ahead wasn't as important to them. To cry now is laughable. They should rather blame their own forefathers than the forefathers of the whites. Catch up or shut up. Then again, you find exceptional black people that didn't wait for handouts. They climbed the ladder of success just like any white person. You'll put your life in danger if you tell these black people that they were helped by a white person. I am absolutely certain that 99.9% of successful black people will have a long story of suffering and commitment, all by themselves and with a strong parent urging them on to make it to the top. Here I can mention two people that I have the utmost respect for, God-fearing people. Anyone in the world can look up the likes of Morgan Freeman and Denzel Washington. Will not be equal soon. There is a long list, but these two names jumped at me. One of the best quotes I've ever read was from Morgan. He said, "If you want to eradicate racism, stop talking about it." Better advice will never be found. What I'm trying to get to is this: God is our Father, and we are His children, if we choose to be. You are not automatically a child if you don't want to be, but you have an open invitation to be one whenever you want to be. It is the most important decision you will ever make in your life, so take your time and be sure. Once you have decided that you're a child of God, many opinions and views will change. If they don't, you have to work on it for your own sake. A child of God will accept his life and will find the blessings to be grateful for. Be grateful first that you have a life and you were granted the opportunity to be the best person you can be. I am absolutely convinced that for God, lives matter. All lives matter. Doesn't matter who lives in that body, lives matter to Him. I think He is broken by the way His children are treating each other. How can one child command from the other to kneel and ask for forgiveness? Vanity is a sin in the eyes of God, and he says you don't kneel before anyone or anything but me. God will be the only judge. Just know this, there are always someone somewhere who are worse off than you. My dad used to say, you complain for not having shoes, but if you look behind you, there are people with no feet. African Americans have legitimate complaints, and this will and are currently being addressed by the Trump government. They live in a free society, receive grants, have access to jobs, and they are free to go wherever, whenever, whatever. They are unfortunately acting like the spoiled baby in the house with their whining tantrums and sometimes childish arguments. They must certainly do introspection and find out who is really to blame. There are white people in America who are also in need of help. Just think about the poor, forgotten Muslims in China. Why is there no cry out for them? They have been treated in a ghastly, unthinkable manner, and nobody in the world even thinks about them. Why is nothing being done by the rest of the world? Where are the Muslim communities of the world? It is a disgrace that they do not even attempt to help them. Pakistan would rather sing the praises of China than to confront them. Mammon has taken over, and the children of God is the price. Disgusting. God must most certainly be very sad about the way his creation turned out. To know that he created a perfect world with no sin and no evil until his last creation when he created man, with the freedom to choose. Only then did sin and evil start. What a payback. Nobody chooses what body to be born in. You can't change it, so you have to make the most of what you were entrusted with. You really can't blame anyone for being born a certain color or creed. Neither can they be held responsible for what a previous generation did. History is for teaching you the wrongs of the past, not to be repeated. Perhaps you are born where you will and can make a difference, to just do the best you can. Nobody knows. It is just what it is. If you decide you're a child of God, you are guaranteed only two things in life: God's love and 24 hours a day until you die. Make the most of it and be the best person you can be, and leave the world a better place, better than you found it. Love yourself and everyone else, and this is under the nom de plume called Buffalo Joe, a white South African Boer. Beautiful testimony, Buffalo Joe. And we have another buffalo. Yep. He's walking across America. Buffalo Jason Bartlett. But that's another story. He's also a very Christian person, God-loving. He would love that testimony. All right, guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, please stay safe. And here's a huge shout out to Buffalo Joe, also known as, not going to say it,